George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation. It is time to check out your money. And we're pleased to be joined by Vicki Brackens. Once again, it's been a minute since Vicki has been in the house. Before we go any further, I just got to tell you that Vicki is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corp., member SIPC, and a proud sponsor of Inspiration for the Nation. I say she's proud, but we're glad to have her back in the hazy. Hey, Vicki, how you doing?
I'm doing great, George. It's great to be back. You know, I spent the month of September getting ready for the fall season and getting re-energized. First, a big thank you, though, to all the listeners out there in Radio Land here in Syracuse and Las Vegas, and also to those individuals across the country who've been streaming this show online through SoundCloud. I received a lot of emails and a lot of calls from folks telling me how much they enjoyed the segment and that they were actually learning something. So I want to tell you, please keep sending the emails and calling. You know, amazingly, on the last show, George, that we discussed being prepared when disaster strikes. And we provided to everyone a real vital resource, the EFAC, the Emergency Financial First Aid Kit. I think it's still available on your Facebook page, right?
Yes, it is. And we'll put it back up for people for today.
Great, because, you know, unfortunately, most of September while I was away, the news was dominated by storms and disasters. Unfortunately, those weather disasters continued from Houston to Florida, then on to Puerto Rico. And tragically, now disaster has taken another form through gun violence that has ripped through the community of Las Vegas. So before I get started, to everyone there in Florida, Puerto Rico, Las Vegas, our prayers are with you, and we hope that your families are doing better as you go through these troubling times. George, I know I've got a lot of things. Like when I'm away, I feel like I got to tell you everything at one time.
Yes, you do. Oh, wait, one thing I got to tell people, and if you say something, although I don't think we're going to have to use the jargon bell today.
Okay.
But if we did, that's what it would sound like, and that would mean you would have to back up and explain it.
Exactly. So for the last 5 minutes or so, George, I want to cover two topics in particular. First of all, to recap, because I've been gone a while, and believe it or not, the last time on our segments that we worked with, we did 13 weeks. That's a lot of stuff to remember. So I'm going to go through a recap. But I encourage everyone to go back to possibly my website at Brackens FSN. That's BRACKENS FSN.com. And under the radio tab, if you want to listen to the last 13 weeks to kind of refresh, you can go there. But here are some of the key concepts and topics that we covered. I'm going to call it last term in the 13 weeks. First of all was the financial wellness pyramid. You remember the pyramid, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it was basically poor, broke, stable, prosperous, rich, and wealthy as far as the progression.
Right.
With poor being without resources and without options, and wealthy being the ability to live your life the way you want with the resources that you have. One of the other key concepts that we covered was a major tool in financial information that we have available to us at all times for terminology called Investopedia.com. What about this, George? Our number one goal is what?
To increase our net worth every year.
Increase the net worth every year. And we use this definition for net worth as being human capital plus financial resources, basically the stuff you own, minus liabilities being the stuff you owe. That gives you the net worth number as far as your net worth calculation. And I know everybody's going to remember this topic, which was how to become a millionaire. Understanding the principle of wealth retention or your wealth retention ratio, because you're probably already a millionaire. And next week, I'll probably go into that calculation in more depth. So go back and refresh your memory by reading possibly that book that I told you to read a couple months ago, which was
The Millionaire Next Door.
The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley and William Danko.
I keep hearing people talk about that particular book.
That's an amazing book.
So that's something, just get it and have it on your stand all
Get
time.
it, have it on your stand. I actually checked. You can download it on Kindle.
Okay.
It's also in audiobook form now.
All right.
There is no reason. That is something you should have in your library and reference all the time.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay? And then having that big conversation, particularly couples, this big conversation and asking yourself, what's important about money to me? Because this conversation is used to establish your values and your goals. But in order to make sure that your goals and values are properly positioned, you have to get organized.
Yeah.
That was one of our topics.
That's what it sure was.
Getting organized and tracking your expenses. I'm really going to test you here.
Okay.
By now, you should have 2 full months of records in your pocket spiral notebook, because we're going to need that going forward to analyze exactly what's happening with your expenses. So that's a hint, everybody. Go back and find your pocket spiral notebook where you've been tracking your expenses, because you've been writing down everything that you spend for the last 2 months.
Right.
Finally.
Yes, we have. Yeah,
okay?
we have. Yeah.
Everybody's been doing that, right?
Right.
Okay.
So it's like start now if you haven't.
All right. Okay. And finally, I'll close with a reminder. Okay. We should all prepare for the financial impact of periods of crisis. We talked about weather-related disasters, but there are many different types of crises that we will actually encounter. It could be anything from the death of someone in the family, a loss of a job, change in employment, change in living circumstances. Crisis will take place. Preparation is the key. We can't prepare for all of them, but if we prepare for the ones that we typically know take place throughout a life cycle, you'll inevitably be in a better place, okay, as far as your finances are concerned. So to that end, I actually sent to George today for everybody a guide to dealing with periods of crisis, which I'm sure we're going to load up on Inspiration for the Nation.
Yep.
And we're also going to load up on my website. So between the 2 places, you should be able to get this guide. So when I look at everything now, George, and I talk about, what's happened over the last 13 weeks, I think we've brought everybody up to speed. So I can very safely say right now, our plate is full.
All right, Vicki, let's keep it moving. Vicki is our money maven. She's the sister who's going to keep us straight with our money and our paper, get us organized, and help us to increase our net worth. She is the president of Brackens Financial Solutions Network, LLC, and a registered representative of Lincoln Financial Advisors Corp., member SIPC. Good to see you, Vicki.
You too, George.
Inspiration for the Nation.